How much longer are you going to let him make a fool out of you? He played you, he used you, and now he doesn't even care. He's out there, living his life, laughing with his friends, talking to other women, while you sit here, broken, checking your phone like a fool, waiting for a message that isn't coming. But let's be honest, how many times has he come back just to hurt you again? How many nights have you cried over a man who sleeps just fine? How many times have you told yourself, this time will be different, only to be left feeling like an idiot when he pulls the same stunt again? But guess what? It never is, because it was never love. He doesn't love you. He loves the control he has over you. This is your moment. The moment you finally say, no more. The moment you realize that his greatest fear isn't losing you, it's losing the power he has over you. And today, you're going to make him lose. A man never realizes what he had until he loses the woman who gave him everything. And today, you're going to make him lose you forever. Press the like button right now, not for me, but for yourself. Let this be the first step in reclaiming your power. And while you're at it, subscribe, because this isn't just a video. This is your wake-up call. This is where your healing begins and his suffering starts. Welcome back to the channel, my queens. Listen to me and listen hard, because I need you to wake up from the fairy tale that's been fed to you since childhood. Love conquers all. If you just love him enough, he'll change. If you just prove your worth, he'll see it. Lies. Love doesn't make a man stay. Comfort does. Control does. And the reason he won't let you go is because you've made his life too easy. You've given him wife benefits while he treats you like an option. And what has he given you in return? Pain, confusion, anxiety, doubt. Real talk. A man who loves you will never make you question it. A man who values you will never put you in a position where you have to beg for his attention. But you've built your whole world around him. You've put your dreams on hold. You've let yourself shrink, waiting for the day he finally sees you. And for what? For breadcrumbs? For good morning texts that mean nothing? For the illusion of love that disappears the moment he gets what he wants? Let me tell you about a woman I helped once. Her name was Lisa. 5 years with a man who drained the life out of her. She paid for their dates, took care of him when he was broke, stood by him when he had nothing. She waited, and waited, and waited. For him to propose, for him to be better, for him to love her the way she loved him. And guess what? He left her for another woman the moment he got on his feet. And you know what hurt her the most? Not losing him, but realizing she had spent years building a man up just for another woman to enjoy him. That's what you're doing right now. You're raising a man for someone else. You're giving your love, your patience, your energy to a man who doesn't deserve a second of it. But not anymore. He thinks you'll always be there. He thinks he can come and go as he pleases. But today, you're going to do something he never saw coming. You're going to disappear. You're going to vanish so completely that he won't even recognize the woman you become. And when he finally realizes what he lost, it will be too late. Say this with me. I am done. No, don't just whisper it. Write it in the comments. Let the universe see it. Let him feel it. But most importantly, let yourself believe it. And stay with me, because this is just the beginning. In the next section, we're going deep into how to make him suffer in silence. Because trust me, the worst punishment for a man like him isn't anger, it's your absence. Let's go. Number 1. He played you like a game. So, my dear, let's stop pretending. You were never his priority. You were his convenience. He called when he was bored. He texted when he wanted attention. He showed up when it suited him. And you answered every time. You made excuses. Maybe he's busy. Maybe he's just scared of commitment. Maybe he'll change. No, maybe he just doesn't care. Let's get this straight. You weren't in a relationship. You were in an illusion. You weren't his love, his future, or his queen. You were an option, a backup plan, a woman he kept on standby while he lived his best life. But here's the truth, and it's going to hurt. He never had to prioritize you because he knew you'd always be there. That's the game, my dear, and you played right into it. You were a toy in his hands, a puppet on his strings, a faucet he could turn on and off whenever he felt like it. One sweet message and you'd come running. One, "I miss you," and you'd forget every time he made you cry. One fake apology and you'd erase all his sins. And he knew it. He knew exactly how much he could get away with. Because the truth is, it wasn't just him playing you. It was the world around you too. Society fed you lies from the moment you could understand love. Be patient. Good women don't give up on their men. If you love him enough, he'll change. Bullshit. They told you love was about giving, sacrificing, waiting. They told you that your worth as a woman was measured by how much suffering you could endure. They convinced you that a woman's strength is in her ability to stay. But let me ask you this. When did love become your prison? Since when did being a good woman mean being a miserable woman? Since when did your happiness stop mattering? Since when did love mean sacrificing your self-respect, your dreams, your peace, just to prove that you're loyal? They told you that real love takes work, but what they didn't tell you is that love is supposed to be mutual. You weren't supposed to break yourself just to keep a man who isn't even afraid of losing you. Love isn't supposed to feel like this. Love isn't supposed to make you cry yourself to sleep. Love isn't supposed to make you question your worth. Love isn't supposed to leave you feeling empty, exhausted, invisible. So why are you still fighting for something that's breaking you? Why are you still hoping for a man who has already made his choice? And his choice wasn't you. It was himself, his ego, his freedom, his comfort, but not you. And I know it hurts. It hurts because you gave everything and got nothing. It hurts because you believed the fairy tale and got the nightmare. It hurts because you waited for love that never came. But now it's time to rise. Let me tell you something about pain. It either destroys you or transforms you. You are standing at the edge of your past and you have two choices. Stay in the pain. Keep hoping, keep waiting, keep drowning, or let it burn. Let the fire of this betrayal consume every last piece of the woman who accepted less than she deserved. Let it turn you into something unbreakable. Because let me tell you something about rising from the ashes. Once you become fire, no man can ever burn you again. Here's how you rise from this pain. Step 1. Stop romanticizing the past. He wasn't the one. He wasn't your soulmate. He was a lesson in disguise. You don't heal by going back to what broke you. Step 2. Let the illusion die. Stop imagining a future with him. Stop rereading his texts. Stop hoping he'll come back different. He won't. Step 3. Rebuild. Piece by piece. Day by day. Not for him. For you. Because let me tell you something. The best revenge isn't making him jealous. It's making him irrelevant. And one day, Sooner than you think, you'll wake up and realize you don't miss him. You miss the version of love you thought he would give you. But now you know better. And let me leave you with this. A woman who chooses herself becomes a woman no man can ever break again. Say this with me. I choose me. Write it in the comments. Let the world see it. Let the universe feel it. Let yourself believe it. Because this is the beginning. And trust me, my dear, what's coming next will change everything. Number 2. He never loved you. He loved how you loved him. So, my dear, let's rip the bandage off. Let's say it out loud. He never loved you. He loved how you loved him. That's the truth you've been running from. And I know it's a punch to the gut, but you need to hear it. Because for too long, you've been breaking yourself apart, trying to make sense of his actions, when the answer was simple. If he truly loved you, he wouldn't have put you in a position where you had to question it. Think about that. Real love doesn't leave you crying on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m., wondering if you're enough. Real love doesn't make you feel like an afterthought, a backup plan, a convenience. Real love doesn't make you beg for the bare minimum. But what did he do? He took everything you gave, and when you needed him the most, he vanished. I saw a woman post this in a forum once, and I'll never forget it. I did everything for him. I helped him when he was broke. I stayed up late to comfort him, and the moment I needed him, he disappeared. Sound familiar? That's what men like him do. They love the way you love them, the patience, the forgiveness, the way you always let them back in. But you were waiting for love from a man who was just taking what he could get. You built him up. You were his emotional home, his safe place, his therapist, his support system. And what did you get in return? Pain, confusion, silence. Because the moment he got what he needed, he was gone. You see, men don't leave women they truly love. They leave the ones they know will keep waiting. And that was you, wasn't it? Waiting for him to change, for him to wake up, for him to finally see your worth. But let's be real. He saw your worth from the very beginning. That's why he chose you. A woman like you, strong, loving, patient. A man like him doesn't accidentally find a woman like you. He chose you because he knew you would stay. He chose you because he knew you would keep forgiving. He chose you because he knew you would love him even when he gave you nothing in return. And now, I need you to choose yourself. I know it hurts. I know it feels like something inside of you is breaking. But do you know what that feeling is? That's not heartbreak. That's the chains breaking. That's the illusion dying. And yes, it's painful, but pain is temporary. Regret lasts forever. You have a choice right now. You can keep replaying the good moments in your head, convincing yourself he loved you deep down, even when his actions said otherwise. Or you can wake up, face the truth, and free yourself. Because let me tell you something, the best revenge isn't making him jealous, it's making him irrelevant. Imagine this. One day, he texts you. Maybe it's a, "Hey, I miss you." Maybe it's, "I've been thinking about you." Maybe it's some pathetic excuse to pull you back in. And for the first time, you don't feel anything. No rush of emotions, no pain, just clarity. Because by then, you will have healed, you will have risen, you will have become the woman he never thought you'd be without him. And when that day comes, it won't be you who lost anything, it will be him. Say this with me, I choose myself. Now, don't just say it. Write it in the comments. Let the world hear it. Let the universe feel it. Let yourself believe it. And stay with me, because next we're going even deeper. We're going to talk about the closure you'll never get from him and why you don't need it. Number 3. Stop begging for closure. His actions were your closure. So, my dear, you're waiting for closure. You want him to explain, to apologize, to finally say, "I was wrong." You think if he just gave you that one moment of honesty, maybe it would hurt less. Maybe you'd finally be able to move on. Forget it. He won't admit it. He won't sit down and tell you the truth, because the truth makes him the bad guy, and men like him, they will never see themselves as the problem. He will lie to himself before he ever gives you the closure you're begging for. And even if, by some miracle, he did admit everything, what would it change? Would an "I'm sorry" fix the years he stole from you? Would it erase the sleepless nights, the unanswered texts, the moments he made you feel invisible? Would it undo the way he trained you to question your own worth? No, it wouldn't, because closure doesn't come from him. It never did. I read a story once about a woman who waited 2 years for closure. 2 years. She told herself she just needed one conversation, one final moment where he would acknowledge everything he did. And then, one night, her phone lit up. It was him. After 2 years of silence, he finally reached out. The message, "Hey, you up?" That was it. 2 years of waiting, and all he had to say was the same lazy, meaningless text he probably sent to 5 other women that night. And that's when she realized the closure she had been waiting for was never coming. Stop waiting for a man who sleeps just fine while you cry over him. Stop thinking there's some magical conversation that will finally give you peace. Your closure is this: he wasn't worth it. Because if he truly cared about your feelings, he wouldn't have treated you like this in the first place. A man who lies, cheats, disappears, and plays with your heart isn't going to suddenly wake up one day and decide to be accountable. He's not going to show up, tell you he regrets everything, and give you the peace you're craving. If he had the capacity for that level of honesty, you wouldn't be here right now, picking up the pieces of what he destroyed. And I know that's hard to accept, because accepting it means you have to stop waiting. It means you have to let go of the fantasy that one day he'll change, that one day he'll wake up and realize he lost the best thing in his life. But let me tell you a secret. He already knows he lost you. He knew it the moment he saw you pulling away. The moment you stopped chasing, the moment your energy shifted from "maybe he'll come back" to "I don't need this anymore." And that is the only closure you will ever need. Because the best revenge isn't anger. It isn't exposing him. It isn't a long message telling him how much he hurt you. The best revenge? Silence. Silence is what will make him suffer. Because while you're out there healing, rising, glowing into the woman he never thought you'd be without him, he'll still be the same. Stuck in the same cycle, playing the same games, hurting the next woman just like he hurt you. Only this time, you won't be there to clean up the mess. And that's what will eat him alive. Not your words, not your anger, your absence. One day, he's going to think about you. Maybe he'll reach for his phone. Maybe he'll even type out a message. But the moment he sees that you haven't looked back, that you've disappeared from his world like he never even mattered, that's when he'll feel the emptiness he tried to leave you with. And by then, you won't even care. Say this with me. I owe myself closure. Write it in the comments. Let the world see it. Let the universe hear it. But most importantly, let yourself believe it. And stay with me, because next, we're talking about the one thing that will break him completely: your disappearance. Number 4. Disappear. Let him feel the void. So, my dear, listen to me carefully. Men don't fear losing a woman. They fear losing access to her. He doesn't miss you. He misses the way you used to be available at his convenience. He doesn't regret what he did. He regrets that he can't get away with it anymore. You want to make him suffer? Then take away what he took for granted. No warnings, no explanations, no long messages pouring out your heart. Just disappear. Because the moment you cut him off completely, that's when he'll feel it. There was a post online from a guy who openly bragged about how he ignored his girl for weeks, would leave her on red, act too busy, make her feel like she was crazy for wanting his time. But the second she blocked him, the second she cut him off completely, he lost his mind. That's the secret. They don't realize your value while you're there. They only realize it when you're gone. Because, you see, men like him don't think you'll ever leave. They think you'll always be there, waiting, hoping, checking your phone, rereading old messages like a fool. But today, that version of you is gone. You are no longer an option, no longer a backup plan, no longer the woman who gives and gives while he takes and takes. You were his source of energy, his supply, his safety net. And now you let him go thirsty. Think about it like this. He's been drinking from your cup for free. He didn't earn it. He didn't appreciate it. He took sip after sip, draining you dry. And today, you take the cup away. Let him feel the void. Let him feel the emptiness. Let him sit alone with his own silence, realizing that the woman who once poured love into his life is no longer there. And trust me, it will hit him. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow. But one day, he's going to reach for you, and you won't be there. And that's when the regret kicks in. You won't have to say a word. He will feel it. Because when a woman disappears, truly disappears, a man is left alone with himself. And that is the one thing he has spent his entire life avoiding. He will try to reach out. Maybe it's a late-night text. Maybe it's a casual, "Hey," just to see if you're still there. Maybe he won't even say anything. He'll just watch your stories, lurk on your page, hoping you'll give him some kind of sign that you still care. But you give him nothing. No response, no reaction, no second chances. Because the moment you break your silence, you give him power again. You are not a woman who waits. You are not a woman who explains her worth. You are not a woman who needs to announce her departure. You just leave. And when you do, you don't just take yourself away. You take away his control, his ego, his security. And suddenly, the man who thought he had you figured out will realize he never knew you at all. That's when it burns. That's when he suffers. Because silence is louder than words. Let him wonder. Let him sit with the emptiness. Let him feel the loss of the woman who gave him everything. And you rise, you heal, you move forward. Say this with me: I disappear for me. Now, write it in the comments. Let the world hear it. Let the universe feel it. Let yourself believe it. And stay with me, because next we're diving even deeper into why blocking, deleting, and erasing him is the final nail in his ego's coffin. Number 5. Block, delete, erase, like he never existed. So, my dear, you say you're done. You say you want to move on. You say you want him to suffer in silence. But let me ask you this. Why are you still checking up on him? You think I don't know. You still stalk his social media. You still check to see if he's online. You still reread old texts, trying to find clues, trying to make sense of why he did what he did. Maybe you even type out a message, staring at your phone, wondering if you should send it. Stop. This is why he still has power over you. Not because he's special, not because he's irreplaceable, but because you keep looking for him. Let me tell you something about men like him. They can feel when you still care. Even if you don't reach out, even if you don't say a word, they can sense it. And as long as they feel it, they know they can come back whenever they want. But the moment you disappear for real, that's when they panic. I read about a woman once. She blocked her ex for 2 months. No calls, no messages, nothing. One day she unblocked him just to see if he had reached out. And you know what happened? Within an hour, he texted her. "I knew you'd come back." That's all he said. No apology, no remorse. Just cold, calculated arrogance. Because in his mind, she was never gone. That's how these men think. They assume you'll always be there, waiting, watching, hoping. They believe that no matter how long it takes, eventually your weakness will bring you back. And that's why you have to cut the cord. Completely. Block. Delete. Erase. You don't need to check his Instagram. You don't need to see if he's posting stories. You don't need to know if he's moved on, because what he's doing doesn't matter anymore. I know that part stings. The idea that he might be out there living his life while you're here, struggling. But let me tell you something. He's not as happy as he pretends to be. You think he's out there living his best life, forgetting you? No, my dear. He's watching. He's waiting to see if you break, if you slip up, if you like one of his posts, if you react to a story, if you leave a door open, even just a little. Because the moment you do, he knows he still has a hold on you, and that is why you need to vanish. Not for him, for you. Because every time you check his page, every time you scroll through old pictures, every time you let your mind drift back to what was, you're giving him space in your life that he no longer deserves. So let me ask you, why are you keeping a man in your world who threw you out of his? A man who made you feel small, a man who used you when it was convenient, a man who left you questioning your own worth. Block him, delete his number, erase every trace of him from your life like he never existed. I know it's not easy. I know it feels final, but that's the point. Because as long as you keep that door open, even just a crack, you will never be free. And what happens when you finally disappear for real? That's when the real suffering begins. Not for you, for him. Because suddenly, he's lost something he never thought he would. His ego? It starts to crack. That safety net he always had. Gone. And the best part? You won't even be around to see it. That's when he realizes he lost a woman he will never find again. And by then, you will have already moved on. Say this with me. I erase him from my life. Write it in the comments. Let the world see it. Let the universe hear it. Let him feel it. And stay with me, because next, we're talking about the moment he realizes he's truly lost you, and why it will destroy him. Number 6. He will try to come back. Don't fall for it. So, my dear, let's make one thing clear. He will come back. Oh, you think he won't. You think he's moved on, that he's happy without you, that he doesn't care. No, that's what he wants you to believe. But behind that fake confidence, behind the Instagram stories, behind the living my best life act, he's watching you. And the moment he realizes you've stopped caring, The moment he feels the shift, when your energy is no longer orbiting around him, that's when he panics. And when he panics, he comes crawling back, with fake apologies, with "I miss you," with "I've changed." It's all a lie. He hasn't changed. He hasn't suddenly woken up and realized your worth. What he's realized is that he's lost control over you, and that's what he can't stand. You see, men like him don't chase love. They chase power. They don't miss you. They miss what you did for them. The comfort, the security, the way you made them feel like they were the center of your world. He's like a fisherman. He threw his hook in the water and you took the bait before. Every time he needed a little ego boost, a little attention, a little validation, there you were, biting the hook, letting him reel you back in. But now you're the fish that got away. And that drives him insane. Because in his mind, you were supposed to stay stuck. You were supposed to keep hoping. You were supposed to keep checking your phone, waiting for his name to pop up. But instead, you disappeared. And now, he's desperate. Because the game isn't fun anymore when you're not playing. The supply isn't there. The attention, the comfort, the ego boost, gone. So what does he do? He pulls out his old tricks. The "I miss you." The "I can't stop thinking about you." The "I messed up. Please, just talk to me." And for a moment, you'll want to believe him. Because deep down, a part of you still wants to believe that this time, maybe it's real. Maybe he finally sees your worth. Maybe he finally understands what he lost. But he doesn't. Because if he truly saw your worth, he never would have put himself in a position to lose you. Do not reply. Read that again. Do not reply. Not to his texts, not to his calls, not to his weak attempts at getting your attention, not even to his sudden sob story about how he's been going through a lot lately. Silence is the only language he understands, because the longer you stay silent, the more desperate he gets, the more his mind spirals, the more he starts to realize you're not there anymore. And when you finally don't care, when you don't even feel the pull to respond, that's when he suffers the most. Because, my dear, let me tell you something. Men like him don't truly suffer when you cry over them. No, that feeds their ego. That makes them feel powerful. That lets them know they still have a hold on you. But when you move on, when you glow, when you grow, when you build a life where his existence is nothing but a faded memory, that's when he realizes what he lost. But by then, it will be too late. And that's exactly what he deserves. Say this with me. I do not reply. Write it in the comments. Let the world see it. Let the universe feel it. But most importantly, let yourself believe it. And stay with me, because next, we're talking about the one thing that will break him completely, becoming the woman he never thought you'd be without him. Number 7. Rebuild yourself. Make him regret losing you. So, my dear, let's get one thing straight. The best revenge isn't making him jealous, it's making him irrelevant. You're not here to win some twisted game. You're not here to prove anything to him. You're here to become the woman he never thought you'd be without him. Because right now, he thinks you're stuck. He thinks you're still crying, still waiting, still hoping for him to come back. He thinks he still has a hold on you. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to rise so high that even if he begged on his knees, he wouldn't be able to reach you. I read about a woman once. She was dumped after years of giving her all to a man who took her for granted. At first, she did what most women do. She cried, she overthought, she obsessed over what she did wrong. But one day, she made a decision. She stopped grieving and started rebuilding. She hit the gym. She started traveling. She picked up a new skill. She changed her look, not for him, but for herself. Months later, her ex messaged her, "Damn, you look good." She left him on red, because by then, she was too busy loving herself to care about the man who once broke her. That's how you win, not by trying to make him miss you, not by trying to make him jealous, but by becoming so untouchable, so unreachable, so completely out of his league that even the memory of you haunts him. You see, men don't feel the loss of a woman immediately. They don't sit and cry when they leave. No, they go out, party, enjoy their freedom. They think they've won. But months later, when they've run through meaningless flings, when they're lying in bed alone, when their ego isn't enough to keep them warm, that's when they remember you. That's when the regret sets in. That's when they stalk your social media and realize you're not the same woman they left. And that's when they suffer. This is your time. Go to the gym, learn a skill, change your look. Do the things you kept putting off because you were too busy waiting for him. That hobby you always wanted to try, do it. That solo trip you were afraid to take, book it. The life you put on hold because you were too wrapped up in him, start living it. Because here's the truth. He expected you to stay broken. He expected you to stay in the same place, hoping, waiting, stuck in the past. He never thought you'd move on. He never thought you'd become a version of yourself that he could never have again. And by the time he realizes he lost you, you won't even care. Because you won't just be healed, you'll be transformed. And the woman you become will look back and wonder why she ever begged for the bare minimum. Say this with me: I rebuild for me. Now, don't just say it. Write it in the comments. Let the universe hear it. Let him feel it. But most importantly, let yourself believe it. And stay with me, because next we're talking about the moment his world crumbles, when your silence finally destroys his ego. Number 8. The final message. Your power is back. So, my dear, this is it. The moment where you stop making excuses. The moment where you stop looking back. The moment where you take your power back once and for all. Because let's not sugarcoat it. He played you. He took you for granted. He laughed while you cried. He lived his life while you wasted yours waiting for him to change. But today, the game is over. There will be no more second chances, no more waiting, no more hoping he wakes up and realizes what he lost, because he already knows. And let me tell you something, that's exactly why he kept you doubting yourself. He saw your worth from the very beginning. That's why he made you question it. That's why he played with your emotions, kept you guessing, made you feel like you were never enough. Because a woman who doesn't know her worth is easier to control. But now, you know better. And when a woman knows her worth, she stops chasing. She stops begging. She stops waiting for closure, for validation, for a man who never deserved her in the first place. Because here's the truth. A woman who knows her worth doesn't chase. She attracts. Let him feel your absence. Let him sit with the silence you leave behind. Because trust me, it will be louder than anything you could ever say to him. No angry texts, no last goodbye, no dramatic exit speech. Just disappear. That's what will break him, not your tears, not your anger, your absence. Because the moment he realizes you've truly moved on, that's when it hits him. That's when he'll start questioning everything. Is she thinking about me? Is she missing me? Has she replaced me? And when he reaches for his phone, when he types out that message, when he waits for the response that will never come, that's when he suffers. Not because you wanted revenge, not because you needed to prove a point, but because you finally put yourself first. And that's something he never thought you'd do. So say this with me: I am done. No, don't just whisper it. Write it in the comments. Let the universe hear it. Let him feel it. But most importantly, let yourself believe it. And then disappear. Because, my dear, you have a life to build. And he has a lesson to learn. This script isn't just words. It's a wake-up call. It's the mirror she's been avoiding, the truth she's been running from. Short sentences, hard truths, no excuses. She won't just read this. She'll feel it. The metaphors will cut deep. The real-life examples will hit home. And the call to action, it will force her to rise. Because this isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. She walked in broken. She leaves unstoppable. And him? He becomes nothing more than a distant memory. It's time. Let's rise.